Hey everyone, today is a mock building video where I will be building 3 Clone Wars Mocs for 3 different clone legions. The 3 clone legions will be the 212, 501st, and the 187th. Without further ado, let's get building. The first clone legion will be the 212th, and I've selected the planet Geonosis. So I started with some dark orange plates in the corner, and then it transitions into dark tan plates and tiles, and then I did a layer of medium nougat. I wanted to make each layering relatively equal. I didn't really want to have one bigger than the other. It's a strategy that I've learned to do with Geonosis Mocs, whereas, when I first built Geonosis Mocs, I kind of just scattered all 3 colors all over the place, so it definitely looks better here as it's transitioning, and I just kind of repeated the pattern going into dark orange and then medium nougat. And I wanted to add some layers as well. I didn't just want the whole mock to be flat, as Geonosis is a sand planet, but it has, hills and dunes. I made sure to add some sort of elevation to each type of color in the mock. Now, at the top of the build, I wanted there to be a section of a sort of outpost for the 212, so I tiled everything off and added just a few plates on each side because I wanted there to be barricades, and then I added some plates as well in the middle so that clone troopers could stand and there could be some crates lying around. And once I had the floor of the clone outpost tiled off, I just wanted to use the rest of my pieces to do a little bit more elevation and detail for the terrain. I wanted it to be elevated with the outpost. I didn't want any divots. And then I added some wedge plates for the dark tan just to have a little bit of a smoother transition into the other sections and just to add a little bit more detail to the landscape. Once that was done, I was working on the barricades that I wanted to do. I had some form of barricades that I did last time in previous mocks, but I wanted to switch it up a little here, and then I built the pillars that go on the mock, and I just added all the accessories in the clone outpost. And then it was time to add the minifigures, so I was placing the 212 troopers, and I also wanted to have them going up against droids, so I made sure to do a pretty large droid force, a mix of B1 battle droids and super battle droids. I wanted to have these clones outnumbered, like they're almost being ambushed a little, as it is just a smaller clone outpost. And the droid strength is their numbers. The 212th mock is done, and I really like how it came out. Probably one of the best Geonosis mocks that I've made. I just want to improve every single time. Starting with the droid force, like I said, is a mix of B1 battle droids and super battle droids, and I make sure to kind of even them out throughout the build, and then there's even 2 battle droids that went down in the fight. The pillar design I got from Coconut Brick Studios, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal. It's one of my favorites. And I have enough pieces to make 2 of them, so I made sure to spread them out within each side of the build. And Geonosis has a lot of pillars coming from the ground, big and very small, so I have a few cylinders spread out throughout the mock. Here's a closer look at the terrain, definitely some elevation here, and I just really love the look of the, pattern going from different colors. And then moving on to the clone outpost, here's the finished barricade design. There's a lot of armor on the front, and then there's pieces on the top that are open so that the clones can put their blasters through them and fire at the droids. This is a mix and different variation of different barricades that I've built, but I really do like the way that these look. And I like using these plates that, allow these builds to move at an angle, because I didn't just want it straight because I felt like that looked a little basic, but this gives it a little bit of a better look. Now, behind the first barricade on this right side is a screen here that the clone trooper is using to contact the Republic for reinforcements. And then there are some crates here, and then here is a crate with some thermal detonators. And then if you notice, these clones, 212 clones, have the Clone Army custom helmets, which just look absolutely phenomenal, though this clone just has a regular one because I had only bought 3 before I got a 4th one. But this clone is coming as backup to get to this barricade to fire at the droids. And then over here are just some more crates. I'm really happy on how this first mock came out, and I think this is my favorite barricade design of the ones that I've built. And I did like adding a small, clone outpost section so that it kind of just added a little bit more of a different look to Geonosis and allowed me to add a lot more texture and elevation to the actual landscape of Geonosis. For the second mock is the 501st Legion, and I was thinking, what planet should I do, or what should I do for this Legion? So I settled on a command center because I have all of the leaders, including Anakin, Rex, and there's 5s as well. And it's been a while since I've built any clone base or command center in this, small mock size. So I started building the wall all around, but I left one section open in the corner because I wanted there to be a door. I wanted the walls just to be tall enough so it didn't feel too short. Once the wall was done, I wanted to add a little bit of interior detail to the wall, so I just built up these small pillars pillars that I would put alongside them. And then for the actual command center with all the, screens and control panels, I wanted that section to be elevated. It's something recent I've been doing, but now it's became one of my favorite things to elevate a section of a base. So once I had it elevated, it was time to build the small stairway leading up to it, and I just tiled everything off, and I added an outline of plates around the perimeter of the section so that I can place those wall pillars. But once that was done, it was time to resume and finish the stairway. Then in front on the bottom section, I wanted there to be two sections of just grill pieces with an outline of dark bluish gray, kind of just outlining, vents and just, some floor detail to make it just look a little bit different rather than it just being full light bluish gray. So once that was done, it was time to just tile off everything, and I kind of strategically placed the plates in the command center section so that I could place all the, different stations and screens. I really wanted to add a bunch of screens to this command center, have multiple clones working, and this is probably the most screens that I've made for, a command center, and I just added some crates here and there just to add a little bit more detail to the, empty area so it doesn't just feel empty. Then I placed the minifigures. And here is Mock 2 finished. So on this side is a closer look at the doorway, and we have a clone trooper leaving the command center. On the doorway, there is a control panel as well to open up the door. And then over here in this bottom section, there are two clone troopers standing guard, and then here are just a bunch of crates. And then of course, the main attraction of this build is the command center. I took a lot of inspiration from kind of the, Venator bridge with how there's, two big blue screens on each side, and then the large round table in the middle. So I took inspiration from that. So at the round table, I have Anakin 5s and Captain Rex, assessing the battle and the state of the war. And then to each side are just some more screens using the bigger, large, clear blue pieces with some control panels. And then in the back are 4 separate stations just using the smaller, clear pieces with each different control panels as well. And I have 2 clone troopers back there just working on something. And then over here is just some crates with supplies. On the floor and the wall are just some red tiles to add a little bit of color and, add that Republic color as well to the build. I honestly really like how it came out, and this is definitely one of my favorite clone, command centers that I've built, and probably the best one that I've built. I just really love adding just a bunch of screens and characters interacting with, each other and those screens as well. And then just down here with the floor, I really like using, the grill pieces just for some floor detail. And finally, the third legion is the 187th. So I chose a grass planet, and I wanted there to be a tall, elevated section. So I had stacked 2 bricks on top of each other for the back section, and then just 1 brick under plates for the second section, and then the flat section in the front. So now I had to place all the plates so that I could cover up those bricks to make it, a smooth transition going up the hill. And at the top of the hill in the top left corner, I just added some more plates for a slightly more elevated look as well, so I could have the elevation keep going up and not really stop. And then I just added a bunch more plates to the whole build to make the whole hill look more smoother. And at the bottom, I wanted there to be 2 sections, one on each side of a broken down structure that had been destroyed for a long time. And I used a combination of 1x2 light bluish gray bricks and then the brick modified brick looking piece as well. Once that was done, I wanted to cover the entire area in plant pieces, so I started by placing just 1x1 studs throughout the whole build and then placing the plant pieces. So I wanted to cover up as most of this build as possible. I wanted this to be a very grassy planet. I placed majority of them here, but I wanted to save some space for when I place the minifigures and the droids, and then I would fill out the rest. It was time to place the minifigures, so I wanted this droid force to have the high ground so that the clones would hide behind those destroyed structures, and I wanted there to be a ton of droids as well. And it was time to place the 187th troopers, so I chose 6 of them and just put them in different sections, and I also included Mace Windu. And the last thing to do was just add a bunch more plant pieces to the build to really fill it out. And here is the 187th mock finished. So starting off here at the bottom are the 6 187th regular troopers. They all have arm decals, which I've gotten from a site called Jonak Toys. I do not know if that's how it's pronounced, but they just look really good. And I have a clone trooper crouching here behind the broken structure while these 2 are covering fire. And on the other side is kind of the same with all 3 covering fire and this clone trooper just catching up. And in the middle is Mace Windu deflecting all the blaster shots. And then here's just a closer look at the broken structures and the mix of the different bricks. I didn't really do anything too fancy or anything, but I just wanted it to have that look of a broken down structure, and I feel like it does get that down. There's no defeated clones or droids right now because the battle just started. You know, the clones just got to these broken down structures and the droids are just firing, but the droid strength are the numbers like I mentioned earlier in this video, so I definitely wanted to put a lot, and I just wanted to fill out out this entire build with just these 3 stemmed like plant pieces, and so I wanted to cover as many spots as I could. And then it definitely has that elevation look, which I really like. I do really like the way that this one came out, trying, you know, the broken structures and having, you know, these clones here at the bottom fighting this large droid force who has the high ground, so, you know, they have to take cover. And then I've been wanting to incorporate Mace Windu in a build for a while now, so, you know, doing a 187th Moc brought that opportunity. And yeah, I also really just love the grassy look. And here are all 3 Mocs next to each other. I recently did get parts to make these black bases so I could actually have all 3 Mocs laying in front of each other, where in previous I've only had one, so I had to do one at a time, break it down, and then build the next. But I really love having 3 separate ones so that I can actually have every single one next to each other. And it definitely makes the process easier as well. I had a very fun time making this video. Just making these 3 clone Mocs for each clone legion was just very fun to do, and especially making each one different in terms of the scenery and setting. And I'm really happy on how each came out. This was really fun to do. Anyways, those are my 3 Clone Wars Mocs, so definitely lightsaber slash that like button and hit subscribe. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.